also known as the Eyeball Killer. Charles was an American serial killer from Dallas, Texas, who was convicted of killing one woman and suspected of killing two others in 1991. He was incarcerated in the John Montfort Psychiatric Unit in Lubbock, Texas. Born in Amarillo, Texas, Albright was adopted from an orphanage by Dell and Fred Albright. His adoptive mother, who was a school teacher, was very strict and overprotective of him. She accelerated his education and helped him skip 2 grades. When he got his first gun as a teenager, he killed small animals with it. His mother would help him stuff them, due to his interest in becoming a taxidermist. He used to go to the taxidermy shop and stare at the boxes and boxes full of gloriously fake eyes. Owl eyes, eagle eyes, deer eyes. He loved their iridescent gleam. He wished he could collect them the way other boys collected marbles. At age 13, he was already a petty thief and was arrested for aggravated assault. At age 15, he graduated from high school and enrolled at North Texas University. He expressed an interest in training as a medical doctor and a surgeon. He undertook pre-med training but failed to complete it. At age 16, the police caught him with some stolen petty cash, and along with 2 handguns and a rifle, he spent a year in jail. After his release from jail, he attended Arkansas State Teachers College and majored in pre-med studies. After being found with stolen items, he was expelled from the college but was not prosecuted. Apparently unfazed, he had falsified a degree. He stole documents and forged signatures, giving himself fictitious bachelor's and master's degrees. He married his college girlfriend. They had a daughter. He continued to forge checks. He was caught in the deception while he was teaching at the high school and was placed on probation. In 1965, he and his wife separated, divorcing in 1970. He was then caught stealing hundreds of dollars worth of merchandise from a hardware store and received a 2-year prison sentence. He served less than 6 months before being released. During this time, he began to befriend and gain the trust of his neighbours. He was even asked by local residents to babysit their children. In 1981, while visiting some friends, he sexually molested their 14-year-old daughter. He was prosecuted, pled guilty, and received probation. He later claimed that he was innocent but had pled guilty to avoid a hassle. In 1984, he applied to be a leader in the Boy Scouts of America and was rejected. In 1985, in Arkansas, Albright met a woman named Dixie. He invited her to live with him. Soon she was paying his bills and supporting him. He delivered newspapers in the early morning, apparently to visit prostitutes without arousing Dixie's suspicion. On December the 13th, 1990, Mary Lou Pratt, who was 33, a Caucasian, well-known prostitute in the Oak Cliff neighborhood of Dallas, was found dead, wearing only a t-shirt and bra. She had been shot in the back of the head with a 44 caliber gun, as well as being badly beaten. The medical examiner reported that the killer removed both of her eyes with surgical precision and had apparently taken them with him. February the 10th, 1991, Susan Beth Peterson, 27, a Caucasian prostitute, was found on the same street Mary Pratt was found on, just outside the Dallas city limits near the DeSoto city limits. She was nearly nude and had been shot 3 times in the top of her head, in her left breast, and in the back of her head. The medical examiner found that her eyes had been removed as well. At this point, the investigators realised they were looking for a repeater. On March the 10th, 1991, Shirley Williams, an African-American prostitute, was found dead lying near an elementary school. A waitress found Williams' nude body propped up against a curb. Her eyes had been removed, just like the previous 2 victims. She had facial bruises and a broken nose and had been shot in the face and through the top of her head. A medical examiner's field agent pulled back her eyelids and discovered that her eyes were missing. On March 23rd, 1991, Albright was arrested and charged with 3 counts